Hello, and thank you for choosing this video. In this episode of AI State of Play, we're going to be looking at mixture of experts and multimodal models. We're going to also looking at the power, which is the compute and energy required to actually run GenAI models and LLMs, and also looking at what does MLOps means. All of that and much more in this episode. Hello and welcome to AI State of Play. My name is Richard Simon. I am Cloud Therapist. 2024 was such a pivotal year for AI and GenAI, really, I guess. So we're kind of continuing our exploration of that year and really kind of just going through some of the main events that really happened. So in this particular episode, we're looking at covering the second quarter of 2024 and all the kind of shenanigans that happened around AI and GenAI in that time period. So yes, we are going back a little bit in time just to kind of remind ourselves of what happened last year. As we said, because it was such a pivotal year, it's really important to kind of really cover some of those events. So lots of interesting things were happening, and a lot of those actually really came out sort of around that sort of second quarter. We thought we'd kind of try and cover some of those for this particular episode, and that's why it's kind of really I'm keen to sort of document that for, I don't know, posterity's sake, I suppose. Who knows? Maybe our kids might be watching this episode and in a future time, and they'll hopefully benefit. It might become educational. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah, if you're curious actually about the first quarter of 2024. Check out the video I did with Eduardo Audax from AWS. That should be on the channel. I'll drop the link in the description of the of this video as well. But yeah, so before we go on into the kind of all the topics, I wanted to first introduce my my guest for this exciting episode. Noah has been well, we've been in contact for a while. Actually, I met him at the AWS Summit in London. It was actually at the after party of the AWS Summit in London earlier this year. So yes, it's kind of been some time since I've kind of bumped into Noah, and we had a really great conversation. It was actually the party, I think, was sponsored by the Scale Factory and various other people. So shout out to Scale Factory. And if you want to know more about the AWS Summit itself, check out the live stream that I did as well. So go back again to the channel. Again, I'll drop the link in the description. But yeah, Noah and I sort of just got talking and found that we had lots of interests in common. When it kind of comes to GenAI, we talked about I think AI agents, which was kind of really kicking off earlier this year. Sort of data, sovereignty. We talked about model types and various other things as well. So I thought it would be really good to actually have Noah come in and be, sort of my guest on this episode of AI State of Play. I think he'll make a great guest. So yeah, here we are, Noah. Finally, we've been talking about this for a long time, right? To organize this.
Yeah, we have. Thank you for having me. Really excited, obviously, to have a chat with you today and talk a bit more about, what we're going to be focusing on, particularly in the AI space. Yeah, so introductions. I'm Noah. I'm head of growth at an agency. I also have been, involved in generative AI for the last 4 years to an extent. Building, selling, and more importantly, testing until something is broken.
Right. Fantastic. Excellent. Well, welcome to the channel. Yeah, let's kick off on the topics. So our topics for this particular episode are, number one, mixture of experts times multimodal models. So that's a lot of terminology there, but we will break it down, I promise, and we'll go through all of that. And Noah will help us out to kind of make some inroads and understand what all those terms mean. So yeah, mixture of experts and multimodal models. The second one is what power, that is compute and energy, do you really need to actually train a GenAI model, a kind of a large language model? So that'll be the second topic. So we're going to get into the details of that and kind of break that down as well. And then what is MLOps? That is the third topic that we're going to be going through. and hopefully we'll again break that down, maybe compare that with some of the other sort of say LLM ops and data ops and various other things that are happening. So we'll kind of again go through that. Did you know that 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed yet to this channel? Come on, guys, we can do better, surely. So please hit subscribe and the notification bell. It costs nothing, but it really helps me to keep making more videos for you. All right, back to the therapy session. First topic, mixture of experts times multimodal models. So we talked about, I think, a little bit about this a while back, and we were kind of discussing what this actually means, and there's obviously various things happening kind of in that space. This all kind of came out around that time. Like I said, it kind of again went quite viral. But yeah, what's your sort of definition of mixture of experts? What does mixture of experts mean?
So I think for me, it's a very smart, ingenious way that, really smart scientists and people in the AI space really built to, be more efficient. So for me, I like to explain a mixture of experts like, multiple different, models that have been put together with one model at the top that's like the CEO model. And what's happening there in essence is each one is a specialist in a specific, thing that it's been trained in. And then there's one that is basically routing to decide which part of the mixture of experts needs to be used. Now, from my side, I found a lot of value in use case in many different models, but I believe the one that really grabbed my attention was from the Mistral team. I believe it was Mixtral with an X. That really got my attention as, they really released that first compared to anyone else. And it really got quite popular on X. A lot of the, AI space and the AI world of developers and technical people typically tend to be on that panel, that, that social media forum world. So it really blew up there. And on my side for use cases, I used it in many different ways, but I'd like to obviously learn what your thoughts are on what you think about a mixture of experts as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I think for me, it's just really kind of I think when it started sort of coming out around that time, it was trying to really get my head around sort of first of all, what is it and what does it do, and then kind of what would be the kind of the use cases. I tend to kind of look at things from a customer perspective. If somebody was kind of using this, what would be the use cases for this type of model? And clearly, obviously, there are several use cases for that. Whether you're kind of on the consumer side or maybe even the corporate side, the enterprise side as well. So there's certainly a lot of sort of focus that we can maybe go through on that. But the bit that I kind of was a little bit confusing, I think, was you had the mixture of experts on one side, and then around the same time, or just before that, I think, if I recall correctly, we had this kind of multimodal models idea as well. And I don't know, what's your kind of view? Are those the same thing, or are those kind of different things?
No. So for me, why I thought mixture of experts really came out was, the whole point of, OpenAI back then was the dominant figure. If we really simplify it, if you're a developer and you wanted to use an AI model, everyone was just going straight to OpenAI. I remember really distinctly, even before that, it was almost impossible to get a GPT-4 API key from OpenAI.
Right.
The waitlist was immense. And then everyone tried to jump onto Anthropic's Claude API. It was almost like the gold rush, but for developers. It was almost impossible to get a GPT-4 API key, and then people were begging, it was through networking to get even an Anthropic Claude. So after these two, it was almost like they were, the industry giants of building on top of it, as we call them, GPT wrappers, where it's just a software build that wraps around an API key of these AI companies. Then there was, this French company that came in that was like, the up and coming newcomer on the block. And this French company called Mistral came in, and then Mistral released, their first one, which was a very small, I believe a 7 billion or 8 billion model, which was really small, which was really impressive. Now, what made them more distinctive was the lack of trust and safety and policy, which made them better quality for outputs. So it was a lot less, you could say to an extent, strictness when it comes to getting a result from it. which then
Mm.
made it seem like it was more powerful because you could get more bang for your buck from a price point as well if you're running it, on a
Right.
GPU cluster. So then they launched Mixtral 8x7B. And the whole reason, from my understanding, as to why this really picked up, the mixture of experts, was because no one really knew how OpenAI were doing it.
Mm.
GPT-4 and 4.0 were doing so well back then, and
Yeah.
everybody was trying to catch up to them, and no one really knew, and it was very almost confidential. And then slowly but surely, people started to think, well, actually, the only way ChatGPT is doing so well is if there's multiple ChatGPTs and there's some kind of
Right.
routing going on.
Right.
That was, in the Reddit forums that were going on, and then people started to think creatively, and you could start to almost see the AI world slowly think of ways to do this, and then
Mm.
quantization and models and stuff.
Right.
That's the real use case there. So when it comes to documentation, asking it to summarize information and text, I feel
Yeah.
like that was great. But then multimodal models came out, and that was more like, well, it's not just trained on text, but it's also, being trained on imagery. It's got voice, it's got a bit of sound as well. And when it first came out, it was incredibly expensive. It was actually cheaper for you to do the old way of doing function tool calling than it
Yeah.
was to use those models.
Right.
But what it did do is it allowed people to be able to start at scale, um, almost start to see LLMs as an OCR solution.
Right. Yeah.
So the multimodal model
Yeah.
started to see it from a customer perspective for the first time ever to use a large language model as an OCR, which
Right.
started to wake up the old industry of, Tesseract and some of these other OCR systems. I believe
Mm.
AWS's one was called, I forgot what it's called, but the alternative of AWS is not the Google Tesseract one, and some of these other ones. So suddenly it almost created a reawakening of a very old industry, which is
Right.
like, convert a receipt into
Yes.
into a
Yes.
JSON, into a software platform. And
Yes.
suddenly everybody started to use this to make demos and to build things like that. And
Right.
that's what we
Yeah.
started to see, especially from my side, what really got my attention when the multimodal model, especially 4.0, came out in this period of time that was popular was the GitHub repo where somebody had David Attenborough voice
Ah, okay.
with
Right.
a webcam.
Right.
So they would webcam themselves, connect a
Yeah.
multimodal model, and then it
Yeah.
would
Yeah. Yeah.
frames, and then it
Yeah.
go, and I see a man talking like with.
Yeah. Yeah. So the multimodal is kind of has that been trained on the multiple different types of data? Is that correct?
Yes,
Am I
yes,
thinking of that correctly? Okay.
yeah,
And then kind of the mixture of experts, as you said, is actually different models that specialize in those different areas. So audio,
yeah,
video, text, whatever. And a sort of a supervisor model then actually makes the decisions and
yeah,
kind of deals with
routing,
the
yeah.
requests. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Except I'm not sure if I'd have to double check, but it's been a while since I looked at it. I don't know if some of these mixture of expert models even were multimodal. I believe they
Mm,
use text. Now, from
okay.
my side, I
Mm,
specialize in document summarization back then when I was working
yeah.
on some projects.
Yeah.
And so for me, you could almost say like a litmus test was
Yes.
generate a SWOT report on PepsiCo.
Right.
And for me, if it does a good job of that, I feel like that's great. And the Mixtral 8x7B was very close to
Yeah.
4.0 and OpenAI. So it
Yeah.
was almost like everybody was trying to chase that benchmark and trying to chase to outperform OpenAI, which was
Right.
still the monolith, the monster that dominated everyone else when it came to just being the Swiss Army knife to do everything.
Right. Right. Yes, indeed. So as a 18 months later beneficiary of those models, I was at the Big Data London conference this week. More on that, depending on when you're watching this, there'll be probably lots of stuff on the channel around that show as well. So do check it out, guys. But anyway, so I had the catalog. So I picked up the show catalog, and it had a list of the A to Z of all the exhibitors that were there. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, I don't want to go around everybody. And the catalog did not explain who's who in terms of what they do and kind of which area they're in. I kind of wanted to pick up on all the ones that kind of do backup and recovery. I was just interested to go and talk to them, for example. So I scanned that page into ChatGPT. And then I
Yep.
asked ChatGPT, I said, can you go and find all these vendors and tell me which one does backup and recovery as their primary solution or their secondary solution. And it's, immediately did it. And he
Yep.
gave it to me, and I said, okay, great. Yeah. So stand E1. Okay, here we go. And I went in that direction. So
Yep.
brilliant example of how to
Yep.
actually use that. I mean, it was
Yep.
like a
Yep.
consumer kind of, example, but it
Yep.
was a
Yep. Yep.
fantastic way to
Exactly.
do that. Yeah.
Exactly. So if we're not so technical, another great example of using a multimodal model was, I had to, I always do this all the time. I had to put air into my tire of my car.
Mm.
I don't have time to go and read that 500-page document book that's in
Yeah.
the compartment
The
box.
bigger one. Yeah. You can
Oh,
never
yeah.
find that when you need it.
Yeah, no, no,
Or
exactly. It's painful.
stuck
So what I
somewhere
did
behind
is
the,
I had
yeah.
ChatGPT on my phone. I took a
Right.
picture of, if I said to ChatGPT, I need this. I don't know what my car is, the tire is, the spec. I always forget. It's
Yeah.
something, whatever it is, the number. I've forgotten now. See.
Yeah.
And I
The
said to
PSI. You
ChatGPT,
want the PSI. You're looking for the
yeah, no,
PSI. Yeah.
exactly, the PSI number, whatever it
Pressure.
was.
Yeah.
And I said to her, where do I get this from? And then I took chat took it to a whole nother level, and it went to
Yeah.
me, open the door of your driver door.
Oh
There
my
should be a
God.
sticker on the driver door. Take
All
a
right.
picture of that and put it in this chat to me.
Cool.
And
Oh, brilliant.
I took a picture of that. Okay, yep, your PSI is this.
Oh, brilliant. That's fantastic. Yeah. See, that's all makes sense. I had I think another example, which might be quite funny, is I was in Germany, just having a leadership meeting. So we went to a restaurant afterwards, a really nice posh restaurant. Unfortunately, the menu was all in German. There was no English version of the menu. So again, I took a photo of all the mains. I was trying to choose my mains. And then I took a photo of the mains page and I asked ChatGPT to translate it. And again, immediately got a translation for it.
Yep.
And then went down the list, found a pork schnitzel. I went, yeah, okay, that's what I want. So brilliant. Okay, excellent. I think we've proven how all of this kind of stuff works. The mixture of experts and
Yeah, yeah.
multimodal
Mixture of
models.
experts, in my opinion, was like the turning point when it comes to document summarization and summary for text.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we've seen a lot of growth in that space as well, right?
Absolutely,
It's like Node
absolutely.
GPT and various other ones, which I also use as well. What's the is it Notebook LLM or LM
Yes,
or
Notebook
something?
LM by Google.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of thing really, really quite good at that as well. So fantastic. Hey, if you are enjoying the content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That would really help me out. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to our second topic, which was the what power do you really need to kind of train your Gen AI models? So one of the I think first things that I kind of wanted to explore in this was kind of really the software stack that you require
Yes.
in in an LLM, and kind of just gives a picture of the of kind of what that looks like
Yep.
to the audience. So I did pick up this chart from a guy on LinkedIn called Bridge Kishore Pandey. Really great guy. Does a lot of stuff on there. I'll drop the a link to his profile. You guys can connect with him. He did kind of a sort of a 7-layer of the LLM model stack, which was quite useful. But we're not going to go through all of that because there's quite a lot there. It's quite detailed. So again, I'll share the chart and maybe you'll see it on here somewhere on the screen as we're talking. But there was kind of he goes from the data sources and the acquisition all the way to the kind of all the the kind of the application layer, if you like. And there was lots of interesting stuff on all of those all of those layers. The one I picked up on was, I think, the on the let me see where it is now. Oh yes, the data pre-processing and management. So you have things like application databases, enterprise database, whatever, in that space. So that was so good. That was actually recognized. You also have for the training, I think, and stuff like that, it's kind of the first layer, which was public and open data sets and various other ones. So the stack is there. It's quite a it's quite a big sort of collection of things that you need to basically prepare in order to start working on these things. But that kind of just sets up the scene in terms of, okay, why do we need to do this? So I think he put it as clarity for developers in order for them to be able to innovate. The enterprises kind of get a blueprint in terms of scalability and responsibility.
Yep.
And for leaders, it's kind of visibility really of the value and some of the risks of kind of AI
Yep.
adoption.
Yep.
So that was the main thing. But I picked up again. I think I actually did have this in one of the other episodes that I did a while back. One of the things that really changes in as far as the hardware is concerned is things like the hardware stack that you're going to put into each of the server racks. So one of the things obviously is energy, is power in terms of energy, and I think the estimate that this particular report was putting out was around I think 70 gigawatts required, which was quite amazing for the kind of typical sort of requirements there. But then they said that by 2030, the requirements will be somewhere around 220 gigawatts of requirements, and maybe an upside of 300 gigawatts on that. And then for Gen AI sort of power, each rack is going to require about 132 kilowatts per rack. So that kind of 220, I think, was the total. The upside was like 300. We're around, I think, 70 gigawatts at the moment. 220 by 220 gigawatts by 2030. Upside could be 300 gigawatts by 2030. But for per rack, 132 kilowatts. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy.
Crazy.
It's an obscene amount of energy.
Yeah.
But what you must remember and realize is that now more than ever, particularly with the push towards robotics with AI, companies are being forced to be more efficient. You can't put that level of energy in a robot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So some really ingenious things are coming out, like Microsoft's BitNet, where the framework allows an LLM to be running off of a CPU.
Yeah.
And Microsoft just keeps on iterating and iterating off of that, which is exciting. Another great example is, what, the Samsung team is doing really well, which is, testing and further going towards the ability to have the LLM just run off of on the device on a mobile phone. So, but that's for, running an inference, obviously, to an extent. We call it inference.
Yeah.
Now, from a perspective of training the models, that's when things are also challenging.
Yes.
Now you have basically a couple of options when you're training a model, to be more efficient. Now on my side, I personally prefer a lot using the where is it called? LoRa? Yep, LoRa. The LoRa training. I don't know if you know much about the LoRa training. So
not a lot, but go ahead and give us a little intro to that.
Rather than training the entire model when you're doing image generation, so let's say I put a picture of myself, 20 pictures of myself. Rather than training 20 pictures of myself to an AI model that will probably need thousands of pictures of myself for it to know to use me to basically put myself in loads of different locations, why not train a small piece of myself that's going to cost less than $2 on inference on a GPU that I can go and rent, and then shove that piece as an adapter into a much bigger model. And that, in my opinion, is where the image model and image training world is going, in that direction. Now, I did that, and I was really excited, and it was quite fun. And now I can basically put myself anywhere. It's sitting in my Hugging Face account. It's just a piece. It's not much. I can even pull it out and put it on my device. And then I just need to connect that into a larger model. And that was Block's LoRa that I did.
Right. So, okay. So so we kind of talked about a little bit about the kind of the main layers that you require. As we said, as we said, you can have a look at the chart for that. The main actual stages for kind of implementing. Did I get it right when I sent it to you? Kind of pre-training, training, fine-tuning, maybe /RAG, and then the inference stage. Are those kind of roughly the main ones?
Yes, but typically, I like to make a joke when I'm building stuff and I'm speaking to clients, and it's if you want to train a model, like, are you trying to make it learn something that is nowhere near available?
Mm.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, these models have been trained on the internet. Most of the
Yes.
stuff they already know,
Yeah.
especially these larger models, they're massive.
Yeah.
So why would you want to attempt that if you can just go with RAG? So it's
Right.
the classic conversation of RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation,
Hmm.
which is basically like imagine see it as Lego building blocks for your AI solution build. Where you're connecting the dots, or are you going with fine tuning and training a model? Now, fine tuning and training a model, that kind of, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense if you're doing image generation, like I just mentioned.
Right. Okay. So there's kind of specific applications then where
Yes,
the different type of training
yes,
kind of comes in.
or medical as well. Another example is medical. I think Google did some great ones with. I forgot what they were called, but back in the day, they had some really good models where you could train on medical stuff as well.
Hmm.
Um, but again,
Okay.
it goes back to image. I saw one that was being trained on, I believe it was radiology images of someone with tuberculosis and someone who didn't have tuberculosis.
Right.
And then someone trained a smaller model to be able to define the two differences, and that's a really good use case,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas when someone's quite new to this space and it's wild, they're like, oh my God, I would love to train my own model. And I look at them,
Yeah.
I'm like, do you have 15 years? Do you have
Yeah.
25 years?
Right.
Do you have 30 years of an
Yeah.
R&D facility?
Mm.
No. That's why there's so much salary being thrown at,
Mm.
and hiring and talent that's going from some of the team members that are like going from OpenAI to
Yeah.
Meta and just obscene salary packages being
Oh
thrown,
yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
they're not going because of, what they've built. They're going because what's in their head.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So in terms of, so we kind of talked about the main, excuse me, the main sort of stages of the
Yes.
the kind
Yes.
of training, and then we
Yes.
kind of get to the inference, which is the when it's kind of in production and it's being used.
Yes.
So from that report, or maybe it was a video that I watched, it said that the training needs more power but not performance, and
Yes.
then inference needs less power but more performance. Does that
Um,
does that does
it,
that make sense?
it varies to an extent, depending on how big the data set is, depending on what you're trying to achieve, and all these other things. There's so many different variables. But I mean, the best way to describe it is, if you have good data, and if you're trying to train a model that has really good data, that the data is nice and tidy, it's clean, it's organized, it's ready for the model to be trained on, great. If you have terrible data, that means you have to then go and process the data and work through all of that. So most of the time, companies are interested in this stuff. It's like, well, is your data even tidy? Is it even clean and ready to use to
Right.
be able
Yeah.
to train a
Yeah.
model?
Yeah.
Um, and so then there's an extra layer of, I think, the seven layer of, what this contact would bridge did, the guy that you said, his diagram. And that layer is more important more than ever nowadays because that's a critical piece of the pathway. And then
Right.
the next layer after that, with once you've got your data all prepared, is the training the model itself. And it's like in that instance, then you need to calculate how much it costs, what all these things are. Now it almost feels sometimes like black magic, right? It's like a black box.
It's a black art, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You put in something, you wait a bit, and then you get a little diagram to tell you how good or how much of a failure
Mm.
success rate it's gone on that.
Right.
But even then, you know, the model is excited because it's predicting the next word. So you have
Yeah.
no idea if what you've done is successful. So again, we go back to the conversation situation of like, why are you going to spend so much time doing something
Mm.
unless you're personally really passionate, driven, determined to go down this route?
Yeah.
If there's already something that's already working out of the box, that
Right.
is a generalist approach that is so good that you
Right.
can even get it tweaked even more. A great example of this is I know somebody that fine-tuned a model, OpenAI's GPT 3.5, which was a smaller model that came out back then,
Mm.
specifically be very good at email hooks.
Right. Yeah.
So what he did is he had an email campaign, and specifically on that email campaign, he would have a really call to action one. And what he did is he had a copywriter, and the copywriter was also a comedian, she was. And because
Right.
she was a comedian, he told her, look, what I need you to do is give me a spreadsheet of all of your best hooks, all the best comedic ways
Yeah.
of doing something. And then he converted that into a training data set. And then he
Right.
fine tuned an OpenAI model to only do one thing and one thing very good, which is write email hooks.
Right.
If he sent it something, it wouldn't even do anything. It would just do the email hook and respond every time with that.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. So a big software stack, the training, there's kind of predefined sort of stages, if you like, of kind of how you go about doing it. Have to be selective with that, as you said, like with things like RAG and various other techniques. That power requirement is going to continue to grow. So
yes,
hence why we're seeing things like the Stargate project, the AI Gigafactory,
yep,
factories from the Europe, the EU announcements recently, and so on.
yep,
Massive investment from recently. We're talking 2025, which is when we're doing this video, by the way, from OpenAI, NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, etc. in the UK for UK data centers. So again, we'll maybe try and cover that in a future episode. But I want to kind of just go back a little bit on the because one of the other questions around that time that came out, and kind of sticking to this area of power and sort of energy requirements in terms of performance and energy, power in terms of performance and energy, was the question of really. Well, let me explore this with you first, Noah, because I think this was interesting. I did a little bit of research on this. I look at sort of any of those sort of areas when you're training the model, or it's kind of an inference. The actual Gen AI sort of activity that's happening is essentially an HPC workload, a high performance computing workload. That's essentially what Gen AI is, right? Because it's very data intensive, regardless of whether you're doing CPUs, GPUs. The infrastructure is not important, but there's a lot of sort of number crunching that's required essentially, right? And that's kind of really very well, it is essentially an HPC workload,
yeah, correct.
from that perspective. Okay, cool. So we've agreed on that one, so I can move on swiftly. So the next one is the other question I had, which again started sort of around that time when people start saying, "Oh, so I need my own model then to do something." Now the question for you is, does everybody need to do their own model? Do I need to go and hire 50 data scientists, MLOps engineers, and create a whole center of excellence, and go and get one of these open source models and train it for 10,000 years and that kind of thing? What is the answer to that? What's your answer to that?
My answer to that is really simple. Do you want to monetize off of the world right now that we're in?
Right.
Want to monetize today, or do you want to risk and predict the future and sit there in an R&D facility for 5 years while governments are throwing trillions of dollars and the best talent in the world?
Right.
I mean, I remember very distinctly, I believe it was 2-3 years ago, the CEO of Hugging Face in an interview, and he said there's maybe 100 people in the world that can build GPT-4. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a situation. We're in a time more than ever that the most talented individuals in the world that can repeat or rebuild or redo this kind of technology and these kind of large language models, right? There are only a handful of people. They have dedicated their entire lives to do this stuff. So you are trying to basically bet on somebody and other team members that have dedicated their lives. Why not instead see what's already working and spin up some of these models, because there's at least 500,000 models on Hugging Face.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Go and search. It's now more about finding the right model that's open source for your use case and then going to rent a GPU instance. And I think that's the bit that we're talking about now, power and hardware. There's many different vendors. The ones I like to use a lot one's called RunPod. They're great. They charge also, they do serverless GPUs. I don't know if you've heard about this kind of technology.
I haven't, no.
It's basically cold start. So you wait a 20 seconds, give or take, for your first inference, and then the rest of them are fine.
Okay.
They basically found a way to pass on the discount to you as an individual, as a customer, yet still give you what you need.
Right.
And so there's that, and then there's also the whole element about all this world, which is Why are you going to have that center of excellence and all these things if
Mm.
you don't need any of that?
Right.
Because you're going to be left behind. The space
Yeah.
moves so fast. Tomorrow, GPT-6 is going to be out, and you're
Yeah.
just going to be sitting there like, I'm still working on GPT-2.
Yeah. And also, yeah, exactly. And then obviously not everybody has the deep pockets as well. Like a
Exactly.
small to medium enterprise, an SME, is not going to, I mean, ideally, yes, they would love to use, AI in some way, right? But
Yes.
they can't afford to kind of, like I said, build that army of people, into their sort of IT team. So
Exactly.
for them, it would be really a matter of, I need to go to somebody who's kind of specialized the model, customize the model to my market sector. I
Yes.
bring my data, and
Yes.
then we prep the data and upload the data, and then start using the model basically,
Yes.
and
Yes.
uh, interrogating the data basically.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Exactly. And with that being said, there are so many, weaknesses with RAG,
Mm,
that it may not work. I like to say to people, if you want to go training and fine tune it, it should be your last resort.
right.
It's going to take you the longest to be able to tweak. With
Right.
RAG, you can tweak, semantic search. You can tweak, the different options. You could dart or whatever you're doing for search analysis. Also, you can tweak, the chunking methods, how how the number of pages are processed in the embedding system and processing.
Mm,
So
right.
there's so many other options to do and dials to be able to get you more optimized. And
Right.
now more than ever, there's even more observability tools to help you and easily help you get to that success metric of where you want to be.
Right. Right.
There's all of that. But if we go back to the hardware conversation, which was the most important topic of all of this,
Yeah.
is that, you know, things are getting a lot easier. You know, before, running AWS SageMaker, you needed like two PhDs to understand.
Mm,
Now it's just the three-click installation
yeah.
options. They're
Yeah.
obviously listening.
Yeah.
The big cloud providers are understanding and listening. And it's the same with GCP and the others. But if you were an SME, you can
Yeah.
spin up LM Studio. You
Yeah.
know, it's an easily free open source. You download the program on your device, and you download on your device any small model like the Microsoft what's the Microsoft Phi PHI
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Phi
PHI. Yeah. Yeah.
family
Yeah.
that they're very small and you can start testing. But if you're talking about production, I mean now all of them have these open source models in their cloud offerings.
Mm.
With AWS, you go on Bedrock,
Bedrock. Yeah.
immediately you have like 100 models you can test and
Yeah.
choose from, and
Yeah.
it's like you're going shopping and you're a kid at the store, and they even tell you this is how much it's going to cost you, this is how much the
Yeah.
tokens, and then you
It's
just need
a
to go online and do a
yeah.
token
It's a
calculator.
separate app store now, right? Essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's, it's
Yeah.
it's amazing. And then there's Microsoft AI. I don't know what they renamed it now. It used to be called Microsoft Open AI Azure.
Hmm.
I don't know now what it's called. And there's GCP,
Yeah.
the Gemini, and then so they all are doing the same thing, which is giving companies the ability of choice.
Yeah. So yeah. So you don't have to kind of invest in this sort of power and CPU and GPUs and what have you. You don't have to kind of train your own model. If you're
No.
really kind of if you really want to make use of it, as you said, there's the open source smaller models, the SLMs and whatever you can play with, and you can make use of those. But then beyond that, like I said, is the ability to say, well, I just want to upload my data. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I don't understand what an LLM is. I just want to use the AI kind of thing. So that you would kind of do what I would call a sort of an AI SaaS type of thing.
Yes,
So
yes.
you kind
So
of
with
just
that,
drop the data into a model and off you go. And that model
yes.
is fine tuned for your market sector. So whether it's it's legal or it's manufacturing or retail or whatever it is, it's kind of trained for
Yep.
that market sector. So
Just yeah.
on that point, I was very keen to kind of put that out as a message in terms of how you'd implement that. So I did put out an article March of last year, in kind of around all these sort of things in terms of what you would do. So again, I'll drop the link in the description of this video for that article, because I think it was really important to kind of put out some of that thinking around the time, because people were saying, well, do I train my own model? Do I just go for like somebody who's already like the Einstein, I think, from Salesforce
Yeah.
was available at the time, and so on. So that's all I
Must
think
but
very
yeah.
very relevant.
Yeah, it had some failures and some issues, but yes, you're all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, we won't go into that. Yeah, but yeah, definitely that was kind of one of the early models. Okay, so yeah, so I think and that, as you said, that is getting easier. I think there's a company that Nvidia acquired last year called Run.ai, and
And on
they
sloth.
yeah,
And don't
and
forget about
they
on sloth. Yeah.
yeah, and they what do they do? They virtualize the GPU, I think. So that was really cool. So again, more on them in the description of this video. But let's explore a couple of other things, just kind of in this space, because we're talking about kind of how you'd go and build your own, and do you need to go and get that sort of
Yeah.
120 kilowatt rack, and and so on. So there's obviously that aspect of it, which we talked about, and we said about this sort of the gigawatt growth by 2030 per rack is going to be like 132 kilowatts, according to that webinar that I watched. But is some of the other tooling around this catching up? So things like, do we need like an AI FinOps, for example, a kind of a cost management
Yes,
type of
good
tooling?
question. So, as part of the most costly part of all this stuff at the moment that people are spending the most is vibe coding, right?
Mm,
The whole concept of vibe coding and
yeah,
being able to tell an AI to build me an application, you go and make a coffee and you're back and it's built it for you. And you don't look at it. And then if it's good code, you keep. If it's bad code, you dump it and you scrap it and you
yeah,
try. Now, with vibe coding as a movement, as a building for software developers, and more software developers actually accepting this as a
mm,
movement, getting on with it, comes cost.
right,
You don't know how much they're going to bill you. If you're
yes,
on Cursor, it can be astronomical, but they kind of help you, but they don't.
yeah,
Now, the one that's the hardest is Claude Code. So
mm,
a really
okay,
smart guy created something called CC usage. A really clever Japanese guy. He created CC usage, and in there, it calculates how much it's costing you. And
right,
people have actually almost, from a bragging rights perspective, went on a $200 a month plan, and they just
right,
showed everyone this is how much I've just squeezed out of Claude.
right, right,
So there's that layer and there's that element.
yeah,
And it goes
yeah,
back to what you were saying earlier, which is why you can dump all your documents in and make your own mini AI agent. And with
yeah,
that,
yeah,
ChatGPT has that with the assistants. If you have a subscription, and Claude
yes,
has it with the projects. So it's
right,
already easily done for the average individual. But if you're more advanced and more of a business, I think it's very straightforward nowadays more than ever using Vercel's AI SDK or using Llama Index or using the framework which was called I'm trying to remember, not Crew AI, LangChain. Yeah, or
oh,
using Lang.
Langchain, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. So clearly there's like a some of the tooling is not caught up. So when you're kind of maybe doing this stuff, you would also need to consider, hey, do we actually have the right tooling? The other side, which you I think mentioned earlier, was kind of observability as
Yes.
well, right? So we've seen it kind of grow again at Big Data London. I'm not plugging Big Data London, but it was just happened to be a sort of topical. Was data observability. So they were talking about
Yes.
that, and we know what kind of where it comes from. It comes from that sort of cloud native space and so on. But now I think we also might need some, I don't know, AI observability, maybe something like that as well. And I think that's kind of another tooling
Yep.
space that we need
Yep.
to look
Yep.
at.
I think the best one for that is Langsmith by LangChain. That's my
Mm-hmm.
favorite. I use it for clients. I use it myself personally. I
Okay,
believe it's probably the industry best, in my opinion, today. Then I
right.
believe there's Arise, I think it's called, another
Mm-hmm.
one, and there's a few other ones. But with the observability, it's still kind of challenging for someone to know and what to observe if they don't understand the whole technical
Yeah,
aspects.
sure.
It's almost like you have this observability tool, and it's like, well, which dial do I press? So I
Yes,
feel like there's still a huge gap of a knowledge gap of what to use and when to use it, because
right.
there's the people that specialize in AI training, right? And they'll be in Python, they'll always be in Python, they'll have their Python scripts, they'll be nonstop in that world, and they'll be training models nonstop, and that's what they do, and that's what they specialize in.
Mm.
But then they'll have all these dials and all these things they like to use to train the models, like, what quantization is it FP16, is it FP8, and all these other things. then they will put some of this into the observability, and then there's
Right.
observability of cost, tokens. How much is it going to be? What's the context with it? How much can you shove into an AI model of data, and so on. So to me personally, I think they're still in between those two layers of observability and
Mm.
actually, using tools, the education piece,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
simplifying that further.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's that aspect of it. My opinion is that it's lagging a little bit behind. And
Exactly.
whether you're a traditional observability vendor like Datadog and all these other kind of Dynatrace and what have you, or whether you're kind of coming in new into that scene, or you're coming more from the Gen AI side of it, I think all of that still in its kind of infancy at the moment. I think.
I
So
agree. I
okay.
agree.
All
Yeah.
right, so lots of things to think about there, from the software stack to the kind of the power, the choice of, whether you do your own model or kind of going like a SaaS solution, some of the tooling around that, some of the techniques in terms of costs and observability and things like that. I think all of those need to be really considered. And again, we'll drop lots of details for you guys in the description of the video, so do check that out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're a business, you just need to make the decision. How
Yeah,
many customers are going to be running on the API? And at what point is it going to be more expensive for all of
yeah,
your usage than just running your own one?
indeed,
The
indeed.
unit economics, obviously, it doesn't make any sense for you to jump on your own one
No,
unless there's a very specific use case and you have some racks, like you said,
yes.
just sitting in the office doing
Yes,
nothing.
yet. That's all we seem to be hearing about on all these posts. Train your own
Exactly.
model, own your own data, blah blah
So
blah.
do
Okay,
you have a rack just sitting there?
yeah, dude, yeah, 1,000 NVIDIA GPUs. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, excellent. Okay, we could probably go on that one a little bit longer, but let's kind of move on to the third topic. Hey, if you are enjoying the content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That would really help me out. Thank you. Okay, so third topic was, what is MLOps? I'll let you start off, and then we'll kind of go there, because again, this term sort of started coming in around that time. I think this is all because of the build stuff, right? We got to build our own, we got to kind of train our own, we got to do all that sort of thing. So all these kind of MLOps and MLOps engineer and
Yep, 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 yep,
and
yep.
things like that came up. So what's kind of what's your view on MLOps?
I just think it's just an advanced version of a prompt engineer, right? It's just
Right.
it's just a DevOps person that got told that they're now a prompt
You're
engineer.
now an MLOps engineer.
Like surely it's just a DevOps, right? But
Gulp.
I'm just being honest. It's just I feel like
Yeah.
it's undermining the whole DevOps industry. Like
Yes. Well, the DevOps industry is already being undermined with platform engineering, so won't even go there, because I'm doing
I, I
something on that.
I
So
don't know what
yeah,
platform engineering is. You have to educate me on that one.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. I'd ask 100 people, get 100 different answers on that one as well. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah,
I think MLOps is just an extra little bit of a layer of what DevOps does. I think a DevOps expert in a company can become an MLOps
yeah,
expert, in my opinion. It just requires a little bit of dials and learning and things like that.
yeah,
I think there's a lot more complexity in DevOps, particularly in production, things like, Kubernetes and all these other things, and clusters and acetages and
yeah,
how
yeah,
compliant are you and logs and all
yeah,
these things.
yeah.
And who's going to be on call in the middle of the night, 1 in the morning when something goes wrong,
That's
kind of
true.
thing. That's, in my
Yeah,
opinion, MLOps should be like, I feel like a company calling someone and saying you should be our MLOps expert is almost like the DevOps person going, I can't be bothered.
yeah, yeah. Well,
You're going
yeah.
to be my
So
assistant. I need an assistant, please.
right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So again, Bridge Kishore Pandey, really good guy, like I said, very prolific on LinkedIn. Put out a chart, so we'll make that available for you somewhere. And he was kind of going through it in terms of comparing it with DevOps and data ops, which is another one, of course. So ML ops, according to his definition, is a subset of DevOps, as you said, that specifically targets machine learning,
Yep.
managing the end-to-end machine learning life cycle, including model training, validation, deployment, and retraining as well. Another lady, I think, put out, I'm going to butcher the name here, Ujjani Mitra. So apologies if I got that wrong. She put out another chart. Again, we'll make that available. And that was kind of more around ML ops versus LLM ops versus agent ops, which is quite interesting. So again, another sort of view of that. We won't go into all of this because I think our heads are going to explode.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we're not going to do that.
yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting. I think the way um, that, whether all of this is kind of going to merge together. ML ops is
I think it
it's
will.
kind of eventually settled down to being, well, it's just really DevOps. It's kind
It
of
is DevOps.
dev ML ops kind of thing. There you go. I've just invented a new term.
Dev MLOps, yeah,
Dev ML ops. There you go.
yeah. I think it is because I am being a bit funny, but the reality is, like I told you before, there's
Yeah.
only a select number of people in the world that can, in my opinion, be able to do from beginning to end an
Yeah.
entire large language model. And
Yeah.
nobody wants that, nowadays. People want just to get a model that's out of Hugging Face
Yeah.
and then just tweak it to what they need it to do.
Yeah.
So with the MLOps bit, I personally think the reason why it's even come out is because the complexity of the cloud providers trying to do AI.
Right.
Back nowadays is a lot
Yeah.
simpler, but back then it was really painful.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it was interesting because I mean I wanted to pick up on it because, like I said, it was around that second quarter,
Yes.
2024. It was, coming in quite a lot because people were saying, well, what do I need to do to kind of build me one of these? Or how do I go and get one? And who do I need? You know, and then
And
it
then
was
it was
like,
becoming available.
it's MLOps that you need, and you need an MLOps engineer, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the battle cry, I think,
Exactly.
at the time.
And the whole GPU inference stuff, it was really complicated back then. I'm so happy they've listened to all
Yeah.
these cloud vendors and they've made it look and
Yeah,
feel
they've simplified it.
now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But back
Okay.
then it was not. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, excellent. All right. So I mean, yeah, it's certainly an area to consider. Now, I think one of the other questions I had for you was would anybody who's kind of doing DevOps or maybe not even doing DevOps yet and maybe considering sort of doing it, would kind of taking a side track to ML ops be a good idea? What do you think? Is that kind of add
Yes.
that to your arsenal of
Yes.
skills?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think MLOps is just an AI engineer, in my opinion. It's just a
Hmm.
way to define an AI engineer.
Yeah.
And an
Yeah.
AI engineer, if you put the title AI engineer on salaries and stuff and packages, is way lower than if you look at how much an MLOps person is.
Right. Right.
In
Right.
my opinion, I believe that this is just a rebrand, just to have an AI engineer be able to jump into an MLOps job title.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the way I see it. Now, if you're a DevOps and you want to get involved in this stuff, I think it is the easiest thing possible for you because you already know the ecosystem. You'll know where to
Yes.
go on AWS. You'll know that when you sign into AWS, you appear. What was that place again in the US? It always on default goes, was it? But yeah, anyways, you'll know
Yeah.
where to go and navigate, or if you're on Google Cloud or if you're on Microsoft. So if you
Mm.
already know all this ecosystem and they launch something new, particularly are they called the golden jackets, the people that have all the accreditations for
Oh,
AWS?
I don't know. I know the Kubernetes ones are called kubestronauts, I think. You're a kubestronaut if you get all
Yeah.
the CKEs and AKEs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, if you have all of the tests passed in AWS, you
Right.
get a golden jacket.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know
They
that.
wear like these golden jackets around events.
Okay. I haven't seen one of those yet.
There
At
was
least,
some at the AWS place we were at. Yeah, yeah, I saw two
yeah.
actually.
Oh, did
Yeah,
you? At the summit?
yeah, the place we were at.
Oh,
There was
all
two of
right.
them.
I didn't spot them.
I don't know how their brains didn't just absolutely melt from all those exams, but hats off to them. That's a lot of
Maybe they're
exams.
kind of in perpetual training and certification, training and they don't really do anything else. They're
It's
just hired to
impressive.
train and certify.
I mean, it's
But
literally they are
look,
the
look,
Swiss
look.
Army knife.
By the time you've trained and certified and actually done something practical, you gotta go back and take your exam again. So
I think is really impressive the
yeah,
ability to have that work ethic, to be
yeah,
able to consistently get everything and have that gold jacket. I feel like when they go into a meeting, they'll just
yeah,
jump in, they'll wake up in the morning, dial into a meeting on their laptop, and someone will ask them something, and they'll just say, "Yeah, that's right," and then they'll go back to sleep. It's like they're done. Like that gold jacket is sorted. No, but all jokes
yeah,
aside,
yeah, yeah,
I think MLOps is a great idea, great concept. It has to be. It is basically part of DevOps, in my opinion, and architecture, but at the same time, it's really important because this stuff is fairly new. We're talking about something that's fairly new. This kind
yeah.
of stuff only blew up 3 years ago, right?
Right.
This
Oh
is an
yeah, yeah,
inception. This is
yeah,
a completely new field.
yeah.
And because it's new, everyone's throwing into it and getting involved. But we're still missing the point of this in the grand scheme of, the technology world is
Mm,
a very short period.
mm.
Like I'm technically just graduated because
Yes, yes.
I've
Yeah,
been in this
I'm
space for
still
three
I'm still
years.
in training, so
I
yeah,
was sitting there the other day and I spoke to my wife. I was like, I never thought of it this way before, but I accidentally gave myself a new degree.
yeah, yeah,
People
exactly.
pay me now to build these things, and I have to
Yes.
advise clients and in production, all these things. But the reality being, schools and education haven't caught up yet, in my opinion.
No, nowhere near, nowhere near.
And
Yeah,
it's
no, I
moving too
agree.
fast.
I mean, they hadn't caught up when I was in kind of starting my career, and some of the things I was doing. And again, I think actually I fell into something kind of doing something, and I really enjoyed doing it. And I'm sure you kind of if clearly enjoyed doing kind of the things that you do as well, and kind of again you kind of explore something, and then you kind of fall into it and begin to actually enjoy that. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
So if
absolutely.
you're a business and you're looking for, if we say someone's watching this right now and they're a
Mm,
business, an SME, or they're a larger business and they're looking to hire someone MLOps, good for them. I wish
yeah,
them success. But you're kind of pigeonholing someone and hiring
yeah,
someone for a lot of money.
yeah,
If you could just, in my opinion, find a DevOps person that has that accreditation,
yeah.
surely that's a higher ROI, right?
Oh yeah, and they maybe have dabbled in it already. They may be doing it without even knowing, kind of thing as well, which
Yeah, yeah.
does happen quite often. And they
Yeah,
also have um, the discipline, the kind of the frameworks in the background, really, for how
exactly.
this whole thing, how a kind of a pipeline works, and stuff like that, right?
Yep, yep,
And if
exactly.
they're kind of if they're sort of done any dev stuff, then these days, because of cloud and cloud native, it's all kind of the ops side of it is also part of it
Yep,
as well.
yep. And but then also with MLOps, I can actually see a use case here that we didn't think about in this whole conversation, which is if it's bare metal. If it's a
Mm.
company that actually wants it, on-prem or something,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
then this makes sense as a
yeah,
job title and as
yeah,
a role. Because they're
yeah,
gonna have to go in, they're gonna have to know what GPU, what hardware, all these things. It's not going to be as
yeah,
straightforward as having an accreditation. I make it
yeah,
sound straightforward, but it's not. It's everything's very complicated. We're
yeah,
oversimplifying.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
then I
yeah.
can see that being a valuable
Yes,
person. But then that
yeah.
job description would be a bit different, wouldn't it? You have to bring a little laptop with you.
Yeah, I think you're maybe straying into sort of AI or cloud infrastructure engineer type of thing, or maybe it's even all automated now. It's all kind of terraformed and whatever. So you're not really going to be.
What, so you don't think someone has to get in a car and visit some random location somewhere?
Oh no, no, yeah. I mean that's different. No, 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 that's different. That's kind of doing the doing the support aspect of it. Yeah, definitely.
So it's more
Um,
MSP side then, you'd say.
maybe. I think there's a lot of permutations, and what we said earlier, this is going to settle down. I think there's going to be some kind of settling down
I
of all
think it already
this.
has
You
started.
know,
I
and
personally think it started already.
yeah, so maybe my dev ML ops term might come back. You never know, and I can claim copyright on it.
I think Jan LeCun made it really clear in his interviews and stuff, saying
Right.
that we hit the peak. For large language models, we've literally hit the peak. We need to
Mm.
rethink how AI is even built and made.
Yeah.
We've squeezed out too much out of LLMs already.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and that's why we're seeing a lot of different techniques. But yeah, anyway, so ML ops is there, kind of like I said, started around that period because people wanted to really kind of get into, build an infrastructure for AI models and stuff like that. And I think that's when that
Yeah,
particular term was born. Maybe slightly different from kind of
yeah, yeah,
what DevOps does, but certainly has a sort of a similar sort of approach and I guess different discipline, maybe a little bit more on the infra side of things.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
also guardrails. Yes,
Mhm.
that's another reason. Yeah.
True, 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 true. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, I think we're there. That's the end of the episode, sadly. So there we go. We could probably go on talking for ages, but we've
Thank you.
got other things to do. So Noah, really appreciate your time. Thanks very much for your insights. It's been really great to have you on. Links to Noah and what he gets up to when he's not on AI State of Play will all be in the description of this video, so do check that out. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Really important to help me out and kind of help out to make more of these things. If you have any of this kind of thing that you're doing at the moment, some of the topics we've discussed, drop us a comment. Let us know what you're up to. Drop us your opinion. We'd love to hear from you. That's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support me. You may also want to check out some of the other videos on this channel. Bye for now.